основном он живет на этом диване. Да. Ему нравится.
Сидит, да, целый день.
Yeah, just show how we are living.
Oh, sure.
I play tennis or?
Oh, yeah.
You play everything.
I play
You play
tennis. Where do you play tennis?
Oh, no, not tennis. This is a guitar.
Guitar.
Yeah. So just going for
Someone likes guitar.
Oh, that's very nice.
That's nice. Where do you play it?
In my room outside anyway.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
What about your room?
Я стесняюсь показывать.
Мне уже тебя гитару смотрю. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Hi. As a doctor for 53 years, now in retirement, what I came to the conclusion the four most important things to have a good life are good mental health, good relationships, a strong immune system that fights diseases, and no addictions. And my program, I hope, will bring you tools to have those things. In my medical lifetime, the two big, massive, worldwide growing problems were, one, mental health disorders and addictions, two, obesity, diabetes, and blocked arteries from fat. And I'm interested in fixing both of those things. It's funny, today I went to a 5-hour seminar on investment in businesses. I'm not interested in investors because I think we can do this online without a lot of money. But I was talking, they were talking about these wonderful things. They're going to make a lot of money. There was green hydrogen, going to make billions of dollars. And then there was stuff they put in batteries, just forget the name of it, going to make a lot of money. And of course, all the time you hear about AI, going to change the world, is changing the world. And some people are going to make a lot of money out of it. I've got a nephew in Sydney who's a legal software billionaire, never went to university, got up at 5 o'clock every morning and taught himself to program, and he's just launched AI legal opinions that help people to get legal opinions for free. But what worried me with those three things was that the competition is so strong all over the world. The smartest minds now are focusing on AI, green hydrogen, and what was the other? Graphite. We're going to need massive amounts of graphite in the near future for the technological things. I don't know much about it myself, but we're not going to have nearly enough graphite, and the ability to increase the amount of graphite using present methods is pretty poor. So there's some people here in Perth who have developed a new way to make graphite very economically. China produces 98% of the world's graphite at present, but it's a very dirty the way that it's done, and there's a lot of air pollution. But the guys at the seminar today have a way of making it without any pollution. But what I told the people I was sitting with, you want to get something where the competition is very weak. You want to work in an area not where you have the smartest minds in the world to compete with, and you can be going brilliantly and suddenly there's ChatGPT and you're out of business, or there's suddenly this and you're out of business. But you want to work in a field where the people who are in it aren't trying, and that's the pharmaceutical industry. Mental health and addiction has only got two tools. Everything we do with good tools, but mental health and addiction only got two tools, and they've both got great weaknesses. The first tool is talk therapy or counselling, or psychotherapy, whatever you like to call it, and it has two weaknesses. One is the therapists need at least a 4-year university degree, maybe a 6-year PhD, and if they're a psychiatrist they need a 6-year medical degree and then 5 or 6 years psychiatric training. So they're highly educated, they're very intelligent, and few and far between and very expensive. Not going to solve the problem. All over the world there are people with mental health problems who can't get any treatment, and as far as I could see, nobody was getting enough. They just couldn't afford it. The waiting lists were too long. The second weakness in mental health and addiction is medicine, the second tool. So medicine is the second tool, and it's got two great weaknesses. The people who take medicine want the medicine to work very quickly, to make them better, and to be able to stop taking them. But the businesses that make medicines want you to take medicine as much as possible for as long as possible, if possible, never get off it. So they don't want to make it particularly effective. And we see a lot of medicines that have been around for 50 or 60 years, and they haven't improved them because they can still sell those. So as long as they can sell them, they don't worry if they're not that good. When I was a boy, in the kitchen there were two tools. One was a big tin dish that you washed your dishes and your knives and forks in. The other was a wood stove that you had to light every morning. Today there's lots of tools. There's gas, there's electricity, there's refrigerators, there's electric or gas ovens and stoves, there's grinders and all sorts of tools, air conditioning. So everything is done now with good tools. If there isn't a good tool, someone makes it. And what I decided, just sort of did it without realising what I was doing, was make better tools. And I've got 7 tools, the first 5 of which are free, that help people to get mentally healthy and to quit their addictions far more easily and at a far lower cost. The first tool is 80 under a minute videos. When I got too busy about 10 years ago, just couldn't cope with all the people and didn't want to have a waiting list, never had a waiting list, saw everybody who came with or without an appointment. Some days 10 people, some days 30 people. But we found that 15 minutes, just when people needed help and wanted help, was much better than an hour when it suited us but didn't suit them. In fact, at the biggest clinic in Perth, addiction clinic in Perth, they had a waiting list of 8 weeks. So if you came in and said, I've got this terrible heroin problem, I've got to get off the heroin, come back in 8 weeks. Well, I had to sit in that clinic to be taught how to treat addiction, and I observed that less than half the people kept their appointments. If you tell an addict to come back in 8 weeks, by that time they're either in hospital, in prison, in a cemetery, or they're committing crime to pay for their drugs and they're still using. So to be able to cope with all the people that wanted to see me, I made a video. My first video, it was somewhere between 7 and 11 minutes, can't remember which, and it got 10,000 viewings in 9 months. I thought, well, that's pretty good. So I made 8 more, and I had 9 videos, and they help people a lot. The video is the fastest, easiest, lowest cost way to understand your mental health problem and what caused it and how to fix it. But after a while, people weren't watching the videos as much, and I thought, wow, I better do them again and I'll do them better. So I spent a lot of time and made 31 videos. But they didn't. They were 7 to 12 minutes. They didn't watch them either. And then I discovered that people want to watch 1 minute videos. I thought, well, you can't explain everything in a 1 minute video, but that's what they watched, and they didn't watch the long video. So I came down to 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, and 1 minute, and now we get lots of viewings. But of course, to cover all the aspects of mental health and addiction in 1 minute videos, you've got to have a lot. So I made 50, and then 70, then 100, a bit more than 100 now, although we're taking out some of the ones that were less viewed and seemed to be less helpful. So 100 under-a-minute videos, 2 websites, the Mental Health Videos A-to-Z.com website and smilefixit.com, an app, the Mental Fixit app. To save time, I had developed a paper checklist, 20 questions, and got my nurse to see the patients first and do the checklist, and then I could find out as much from the checklist and asking a few questions in 5 minutes as it previously took 25 minutes. So that was a big help. But then as technology advanced, we realized that that an app was far better. You just have the app on your phone, just on the phone icons. You pick App Store icon or Google Play icon, tap on it, and in 10 seconds you can download the free Mental Fixit app. And it asks 38 questions about every aspect of mental health and addiction, and a few social things and a few physical things. 38, that's going to take a long time. And we knew that people wouldn't do it if it was too long. But for each question we had 3 answers. No, it's not a problem. Yes, it's a moderate problem. Yes, it's a severe problem. And they just have to tap whichever one of those 3 answers is right for them. So they can go, just read the question, tap, read the question, tap, they can do the 38 questions in about 10 minutes. And if they tap no twice, it's not a problem. Well, then that question only gets asked every 4th time. So quite soon they're just being asked the questions that are a problem for them, and they're able to do the check in 7 minutes or 5 minutes, and as you tap your choice of answers for the last question, an instant report comes up on the screen which tells you 4 things that you need to know. First of all, it tells you which 6 of the 100 videos will help your particular problems most. You can't look at 100. Some people seem to look at about 20 or 30. We can tell that from the records, but you can watch the 6 videos that will help you most with your particular problems. Someone else has got different problems. They need to watch different videos, and those videos tell you, explain to you a problem and what causes it and how to fix it. So 6 videos, which medicines are most likely to help you, give you a complete list of all the things that you've tapped. Yes, a moderate problem, yes, a severe problem, in descending order, and so very quickly you know all of your problems and what's the most important, the second most important, the third, down to the least important. And each one of those answers that you've tapped has got a score. So the app also instantly adds up all those individuals' question scores and gives you a total score. And the 4th thing in the report is a total score graph, because we recommend that you do the check every day or two until you understand everything. It just gets clearer and clearer. If every day you read the question, say, have I got this problem? Is it mild or moderate or severe, or I don't have, you get a little bit clearer about what your problems are. And your total score should be coming down if the treatment's working. If the treatment's working, some of the severe problems should be becoming moderate problems. Some of the moderate problems should be becoming mild problems. And the graph should be going down. And if the graph's horizontal, it's not going down, you're on the wrong treatment. And that's very helpful to know straight away whether the treatment's working or needs to be changed. I mean, you sort of know whether you're getting better or not, but this is a more exact and complete method of knowing whether you're getting better or not, and therefore whether you're on the right treatment or you need to have different treatment. So that's 3 tools. The 4th tool is live streaming. What we're doing now. Didn't know about live streaming 4 or 5 months ago, but my very helpful tech guy told me about it, and I could see how valuable it would be to people, and so we started to do it. We do it for usually an hour and a quarter every Wednesday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday evening at 7 p.m. Perth time, which is 9 p.m. Sydney and Melbourne time, 7 a.m. New York time and 4 a.m. California time. We're going to have to try and do it at a time which is more convenient for the Americans, which of course will be less convenient for us here, but that's certainly a price I'm willing to pay. And we get quite a lot from England as well. Yeah, so I usually get 2,000 to 4,000 viewers for each session. Not very many people watch the whole video. A lot of them are just scrolling, but a reasonable number watch the whole video or watch quite a bit of it. And yeah, last Sunday I got 8,800 viewers in a longer session, 1 hour 50 minutes session. I got a bit carried away with myself, couldn't stop. I had 8,700 viewers on another occasion. Can't remember how many minutes that was, but that was a Saturday night. So it seems like the weekends are the times which suit people best. So that's 4 tools. The 5th tool is powder medicine. With mental health and addiction, you want medicines that work fast. If you're trying, if you're just getting into a situation where you have social anxiety or you have panic attacks, you want to be able to take a medicine that works straight away. But tablets and capsules that you swallow go right down your gut by an indirect route to get into your circulation, back up to your brain and wherever it's needed. But what I found was that powder medicine was far better. Your tongue is pink or red because the blood vessels are so close to the surface, and you drop millions of tiny grains of powder medicine on your tongue. Don't swallow, suck it, and in 5 minutes it's starting to work because it's got into your blood stream in through your tongue. Didn't have to go right down your gut and by an indirect route. And we found that if we made the powder taste very nice, people take the powder, they get a lovely taste, and 5 minutes later they start to get better. After a while, their body puts those two things together, and as soon as you taste the medicine, you start to feel better. The lovely taste gives you a placebo benefit, and that's even better if you're trying not to smoke or trying not to panic or trying not to buy that bottle of scotch. Yeah, so that's my 5th tool. The 6th tool is pocket dispenser. We put the powder in a pocket dispenser like that, and you carry the pocket dispenser in your pocket, and wherever you are, anytime, anywhere, if you need the medicine, just whip it out, and in seconds it's on your tongue, and in somewhere between second and 5 minutes it's working. That means that your problems never get bad, because if you do that as soon as you feel them starting, they're not and the medicine starts to work in seconds or within 5 minutes. It just stops it from getting bad, so you suffer much less. And there are a few other advantages of powder medicine in pocket dispensers. One is you can mix 2 or 3 powders together very easily, and then you can have a mixture that stops the mental health problem and the addiction problem which the mental health problem caused, and that's really powerful. If you can help people not be anxious, not have ADD or whatever, at the same time as relieving their craving for the drug they took to relieve those mental health problems, you're giving them a really powerful weapon. So that's 6 tools. The 7th tool is a heartbeat meditation aid. Meditation is very, very valuable for people with mental health problems and addictions, especially anxiety and PTSD and things like that, and sleep. what is meditation? It's a little holiday from all your stresses and strains. How do you do that? You focus on something, and when you're focusing on that, you forget everything else. It's a habit you have to learn, and it's not easy if your troubles are pretty bad. So the people who would benefit most from meditation often can't do it. The experts who've been doing it for 20 or 30 or years, they can just start meditating like that anytime, anywhere. Driving the car, come to the red light, stop for a minute, meditate for a minute. And that's really powerful. I find it very helpful when I go to bed. Just meditate and you go off to sleep very well. Or sometimes, I'm very old, so sometimes I get a bit tired during the day and I just lie on the couch and have a snooze, and meditation helps that. 30 years ago I tried to do it and failed. At that time they had two options for what you focused on. They said they gave you a word and you just focused on that word. They gave me a word, I can't remember what it was, and you just repeat it, and just think about and keep repeating that word and try to stop thinking about everything else. And with time you can get good at that, but I had a lot of stress at the time and I didn't succeed. But a few years ago I thought, well, I'll listen to my heart and see if that's a good distraction. So that's the hearing part. You just put this down behind your clothes on the top of your left top chest where you can hear your heart beating. And your heart beating is strong, clear, loud, interesting, and pretty easy to focus on. And after you do that for a couple of months, then you can focus on your breathing, which is the other thing they tell you, which is what is the best and what most of them tell you to do. The repeating the words is a much less common thing, but I misunderstood them, which is probably partly why I failed. When they said focus on your breathing, I thought that they meant to focus on your breathing as an observer, to focus on your chest going up and down and your tummy going in and out and the air passing in and out. And that's pretty subtle and pretty hard to do, but actually what they meant was you focus on doing the breathing. So you breathe in, you breathe out, you breathe in, you breathe out. You've got a task to do, and that's easier to focus and concentrate on, and I can do that now. And I've got a couple of other tools coming up that I haven't fully worked out yet. Got so much to do, so much to do. I apologise to people who I don't respond to. I try to respond to everyone after I do the live streaming. I go through all the new followers. One night recently it was 105 new followers, and all the diamonds, and most of them there isn't a comment. They just it just indicates that they have watched that and they liked it, and so they are now a follower, or they are already a follower, but now they are giving you diamonds. Still not quite sure what diamonds do for you, but anyway, we usually get 100 or 200 diamonds. We've had over 500 on a few occasions. So there are two other things, tools that I think will be useful. One is the habit of smiling. We all know that when we feel good, we're likely to smile or laugh. But what we didn't know, that science has now proved, is that when you smile or laugh, your brain produces even more happy chemistry. And the people you're with, you smile at them, they smile at you, and they feel better. So the whole thing gets better. So smiling, I've learned in the last year that smiling is one of the most important habits you can have. Very important habit. Smile, every excuse you have to smile or laugh, and that will make you feel better. Not only makes you feel better, but it strengthens your immune system. Your immune system is white cells and antibodies and chemicals in every part of your body that fight infections, allergies, inflammation, autoimmune diseases and cancers. And a strong immune system is one of the things that you want. Sadly, my younger brother died about 18 months ago from leukemia. If someone gets leukemia, you know that their immune system is low. And he was just too ambitious and too stressed and did incredible things. But it must have depressed his immune system, and he got leukemia and eventually died. So I tend to be very active. I'm 87 and I do 50 hours a week on this project, but I enjoy it. It's not stressful for me 90% of the time. It's enjoyable. So you can tell that by the amount of smiling I do. I just enjoy it. Yeah, so I want to formalize an 8th tool, which is how to go about smiling, and the 9th tool, which I've got a way to go with yet, and my present name for it is phone treasure. Phone treasure. It's having stuff on your phone that you treasure. For me, that's music, particularly The Voice Kids, Britain's Got Talent, America's Got Talent, Romania's Got Talent. Music, animals, furry animals, babies playing tricks, all sorts of things. And at this business conference I was at this afternoon, I learnt something new from a very old Chinese gentleman I was sitting next to, and he told me that he has all these photos on his phone of family members who've died, but you know, he can just take his phone out and look at his father, his grandfather, and that gives him a lot of pleasure. And so one of the sections of the treasure, phone treasure, will be photos of people that you love, whether they're still alive or they've passed. Yeah. I'd like to talk a bit about addiction. The first thing is how do addictive substances work? Very interesting, because I didn't know that till a few years ago. And I don't think a lot of doctors know how addictive substances work. Well, this is what happens. You have a distress, anxiety, depression, panic attacks, social phobia, ADD, whatever, you have a mental suffering. In my careful research, I found that 19 out of 20 addicts had serious mental health distresses before they started to take addictive substances. Usually 2 or 3, not just one. ADD and anxiety and depression, post-traumatic stress disorder and insomnia and depression. Yeah, 2 or 3 things. So the addictive substance, if you don't get the right treatment, the right medicine, but somehow you get some street treatment, and all the street treatments are addictive, so you get some alcohol or heroin or calming addictive painkillers or ice or crystal meth or cocaine or whatever, and that relieves a mental distress. So that's the first thing that addictive substances do. They make you feel better, and at the beginning a small amount of them, which doesn't cost very much money, make you feel better. But the second thing is that every time you take an addictive substance, your chemistry fights back a bit and creates a bit of resistance. So the next time you have to take a bit more than the first time, because you still right. No, I missed something out. So the first thing is it gives you relief from suffering. The second thing is it never cures the cause of the suffering. If it cures the cause of the suffering, you don't get addicted to it, because you have to. Why you don't need the addictive the chemical anymore. But addictive substances don't cure the problem, so the problem comes back. And when that problem comes back, you need a bit bigger amount of the addictive substance, because it's got to stop the suffering, and it's also got to override the bit of resistance. So you have to take a bigger amount so you get bigger resistance. So the next time you have to take an even bigger amount to overcome the mental distress which has come back because the cause wasn't cured, and you've got a stronger resistance that you've got to get over. So it just progresses, and you have to take more and more and more and more, till in the end you have to take a lot of the addictive substance because you've got a high level of resistance. Your chemistry has developed a high level of resistance to the addictive substance. So to overcome the mental distress and all that resistance, you have to take a large amount. And eventually what happens is nearly all the addictive substances taken overriding the resistance, and it doesn't fix your mental distress, which hurts you in multiple ways. First of all, those large amounts are usually costing you far more than you can afford. So you're having to go without things. You don't have proper food. You're wearing old clothes. You're up to your neck on your credit card. So the large amounts to overcome the resistance cause you financial and lifestyle problems. Secondly, all that foreign chemical screws up your natural chemistry. and your natural chemistry doesn't feel right, it doesn't work right, because it's been pushed around by all this addictive substance. But it's adapted to operating with the addictive substance, so if you don't have the addictive substance, then you get horrible withdrawals. So that's how addictive substances work. So how do you quit addictive substances? Mental disorders are basically habits. A habit is anything that you've done so many times or experienced so many times that the chemical and electrical messages that cause it have grown very strong. Strong and fast and hard to stop. And taking addictive substances is an addiction, but it's also a habit. You've done it so many times that your body just reacts quickly because the chemical and electrical flows that underlie the feelings are strong. So how do you get rid of an addiction? You break the habit. How do you break habits? You break habits, well, there's two ways. The old timer will say, just go cold turkey. It was President Reagan's wife said, just say no. Okay, if it works, but it usually doesn't work. By the next day or the day after that, you feel so rotten that you go back on the addictive substance. So my preferred way is you just delay doing it a bit. You suddenly feel like you want to have a cigarette, well, you wait half an hour and then you have a cigarette. You suddenly feel like you want to drink half a bottle of scotch, well, you wait half an hour and then you drink a little bit less than half a bottle of scotch. Because when you delay a habit, you weaken it. And if you ever miss it, that weakens it too. So you delay it, which weakens it, which the next time lets you delay it a little bit longer and take a little bit less. And the next time you can take even a little bit longer delay and even a little bit less of the addictive substance. And eventually you start to miss doses, and eventually you can just quit. But it's pretty tough delaying things. Pretty tough to put off having a cigarette for half an hour. Pretty tough to put off having a drink for half an hour. So, is there any way to make that easier? Yes, there is. The powder medicines, which we told you, work very quickly. And if you take the powder as soon as you start to get the urge to take the addictive substance, you stop that urge from getting very strong, and you can delay it for a quarter of an hour, half an hour, whatever, and you keep delaying it longer and longer because it gets weaker and weaker. So we've now got medicines that will delay or suppress every kind of mental health disorder and every kind of addiction which is not addictive. After starting to work with heroin addiction in 1997 and doing what everybody else did, which was make them methadone addicts. Methadone is about 5 times as addictive as heroin. And then I think in the early 2000s it was, we got Subutex, which is an addictive substance, but it's only about as addictive as heroin, so it's better, but you're still an addict. And then I found ways to stop heroin craving and addiction which were not addictive. Repeated microdose naltrexone. 50 milligram naltrexone tablets, the official FDA approved tablets, were so strong that they gave people terrible side effects and they stopped it. But Dr. Bernard Bihari, the addiction commissioner from New York City, found that he realized that the reason why people wouldn't take the medicine wasn't because they wanted to take heroin, which is what the doctor I work with said, oh, they just want to get back on the heroin. It was because of the terrible side effects. They felt terribly anxious. They couldn't sleep. They just shook and felt terrible. So that they just couldn't tolerate. 95% of them couldn't tolerate 50 milligram naltrexone. But Dr. Bihari tried 1 to 10 milligrams and found 3 milligrams was far better. Once they got an addict off heroin or off addictive painkillers or whatever, 3 milligrams of naltrexone made them feel so much better that they didn't relapse. But there was a problem. The problem was that if they had any heroin or addictive painkiller in them, even 3 milligrams gave them terrible side effects for the first dose or two. So bad that it was inhuman to do it to them. And Dr. Bihari didn't find a solution to that problem because at about that time they discovered they had HIV in New York. They didn't know they had HIV, but quite a lot of the people who were dying, they thought were dying of heroin, actually dying of AIDS. And they got very worried about HIV and they thought it might wipe out whole cities. So they stopped worrying about heroin and worried about HIV. And also he discovered that 3 milligrams boosts your endorphin chemistry by 250 to 300%, and endorphin chemistry manages your immune system, and your immune system stops many people, cures their cancer, about half of people. And he found that 3 milligrams of naltrexone, which he called low-dose naltrexone or LDN, if you weren't a heroin or a painkiller addict, you could just take that easily. And I think he treated about 350 cancer patients with it, and about half of them got better. So he didn't fix the 3 milligram problem with heroin, so I tried even less. I tried from 1/8 of a milligram of naltrexone to 1.5 milligrams. And what I found was that 3/4 of a milligram of naltrexone, you could give it to a heroin addict or a painkiller addict as soon as they started to crave, and it would stop their craving for an hour, and it didn't cause any side effects. And after an hour, you gave them another 3/4 of a milligram, and they were good for another hour. And then you give them another 3/4 of a milligram I called that RMN, repeated microdose naltrexone. And if you take RMN 3/4 milligram for about 8 or 10 doses, you can then double it and take 1.5 milligrams every 2 or 3 hours for 24 hours, and then when no heroin or addictive painkiller for 36 hours, you can take 2.25 milligrams, 3 doses of 3/4 milligram without side effects. And when you've had no heroin or opiate painkiller for 72 hours, you can take the 3 milligram LDN low dose naltrexone and you won't relapse because it boosts your endorphins so much. So I thought that's a pretty good idea. Curing addiction with non-addictive medicines. And we now have non-addictive medicines for every type of addiction. You can mix 2 or 3 powder medicines together very easily. One to stop the mental health problem and one to stop the addiction craving. And that's just so wonderful. Someone who's got a severe mental suffering and addiction craving, to fix both things at once is just wonderful for them. And of course, powder is very flexible. When I was a boy, a long time ago, you go into a pharmacy, you see all these bottles with different coloured liquid in them. And the medicines were nearly all liquids. And you have a teaspoonful or half a teaspoonful or a quarter of a teaspoonful or 2. And it was a bit weird because in those days there was no mass production of medicine teaspoons. The teaspoons were all different sizes, so a bit hit or miss. But different people need different amounts of medicine. I saw people that weighed 45 kilos and others that weighed 145 kilos and others that weighed 100 kilos. They needed different amounts, which was hard to do, hard to get accurate with tablets and capsules. And some of them absorbed the medicine well and some of them didn't absorb the and some of them excreted the medicine in their urine and quickly, and some didn't. And some burned the medicine, used the medicine up, metabolized it quickly, and some didn't. And some were very sick and some weren't very sick. So the problem with liquid medicines is that they deteriorate. But dry powder medicine is flexible, very easy to get different amounts, and it doesn't deteriorate. It's the liquid that causes the medicine to deteriorate. So now we have powders in pocket dispensers. You can take in seconds, anytime, anywhere, even driving the car, as soon as the problem starts, so it doesn't get strong, so you can delay it. And when you delay a mental distress, which is a habit, you weaken it. When you delay taking an addictive substance that you crave for, you weaken it. And if you weaken, eventually you can start to miss it here and there, and then more and more miss it, and eventually the mental health habit and the addiction habit are broken. For instance, alcohol. Alcohol kills 3 million people a year in the world, and for everyone it kills, it wrecks the lives and the families of many others. And most people with alcoholism have got it because of anxiety, worry, PTSD, poor sleep. So what's the powder medicine for that? The powder medicine for that I call calm fast. Calm fast has got baclofen calming medicine in it, calming mirtazapine antidepressant, and microdose naltrexone, which boosts your immune system and your endorphins. And endorphins, that name is short for endogenous morphines, because we produce morphines ourselves, over 20 chemicals that are called endorphins, and they help to stop pain and make us feel comfortable. So that naltrexone also has an alcohol blocking effect. Microdose naltrexone on its own would not be enough to block alcohol, but when it's combined with a calming, anxiety reducing medicine and the calming antidepressant medicine, microdoses of naltrexone are enough, especially as we don't recommend that you go cold turkey. We don't recommend that someone who's drinking 3 bottles of beer every day, big bottles that is, or a big bottle of scotch or a bottle and a half of bourbon a day, just suddenly stop. That kills some people. They get delirium tremens and they die. No, what you do is you delay it and weaken it, and delay it and weaken it, and when you weaken it you can delay it a bit longer. So when you wake up in the morning, you take calm fast, and instead of having alcohol for breakfast, you can wait till 10 o'clock, and at 10 o'clock you have a drink, but you don't drink quite as much, and that progresses and progresses till you can leave drinking till late afternoon, and you're only drinking a quarter or a third as much as you were, and then eventually you can quit comparatively easily, and your chemistry, which was totally changed by large amounts of alcohol and didn't function well if you suddenly stop it, which could cause delirium tremens in extreme cases, but a lot of hanging out and feeling terrible for other people. Instead of that, you just gradually reverse the process that you went through when you developed the addiction. So now we've got combinations for all the mental health disorders and all the addictions, and we can mix them in a combination that deals with 2 or 3 different problems, and you can take it in seconds whenever you need to, so that the problem doesn't get bad, and you can take the right amount for you, which might be twice as much as the right amount for him and half as much as the right amount for her. So you just find by trial and error what's the best amount. Some people are not very happy with that idea. They think the doctor should tell you, you take this much every time. I don't believe that. I don't buy that. For most mental health and addiction medicines, you take the amount that gives you the best result. And that will be more to begin with than in the end. In the end, you're taking less and less. You need less and less. Until you end up, you don't need to take it all the time, but you've got it in your pocket, because one of the problems is that sooner or later something happens that upsets you and you have mental health bad feelings, or you get an urge to have that addictive substance. But as soon as that starts, Bob's your uncle. It's all done and controlled. So what do you take for heroin or addictive painkiller? Same stuff as you take for alcohol. Calming, tranquilizing baclofen, which is also a muscle relaxant and also has some craving suppressant effect. Mirtazapine, which is a calming antidepressant, and low dose naltrexone, microdose naltrexone, but if you when you get to taking 3 or 4 doses at a time, that's equal to low dose naltrexone, and that not only suppresses alcohol, but it suppresses craving for heroin and opiate painkillers, codeine and OxyContin and all those things. So what do you take for pain? Calmfast. Because usually with a lot of pain, there's also anxiety and maybe insomnia. The main thing is that the microdose or low dose naltrexone boosts your endorphin production by 250 to 300%, and endorphins cut pain and distress. So what do you take for crystal meth, and cocaine, ecstasy, MDMA? Upfast. Upfast has the stimulant modafinil in it. Now, modafinil this is a little bit complicated. So let's just say that Upfast has got 2 or 3 medicines in it that stimulate you and boost your endorphin production, which allows you to delay taking the crystal meth or the cocaine or whatever, maybe only half an hour, maybe an hour, and it allows you to take a little bit less. And as the days go by, you can delay it longer and longer, and you can take less and less until you get down to a level when you can just stop it. But of course, so many people who get off those things with other medicines or with going cold turkey, just suddenly stopping, relapse. But if you've got the upfast in your pocket, anytime, anywhere you start to feel the problem coming back, you take some of that. What about tobacco? Tobacco kills 7 million people a year in the world, and of course damages a lot more for everyone that actually dies. It has a very bad effects on the health of many others. So tobacco or nicotine does 3 things for people. It gives them a little boost of energy, a little boost or high of mood, and it helps them focus and concentrate better. We've also seen people that when they start to do something, they go light up so they can focus and do it. Well, my tobacco fix, as I call it, does those 3 things. A little boost of energy, a little boost of mood, better focusing and concentration, but it's not addictive. It's got modafinil stimulant in it, and it's got low dose naltrexone in it. And it's got a little bit of nicotine in it. The nicotine tablets you can buy are 4 milligrams. This is half a milligram in a dose of tobacco fix, which is a very small amount, but it helps people to delay a little bit better, and it's not difficult to get off half a milligram later. And you get off addicted tranquilizers. I used to treat people on up to a lot of people on 20, 30 or 40 Valium a day. About 10 people I treated on 100 Valium a day, and one on 200 Valium a day. He just spent his whole day going from doctor to doctor, telling lies to get prescriptions, and get 4 lots of 50 tablets a day. And one pharmacist told me that people would come in with a prescription for 50 Valium tablets. They'd make them up, give them the 50 Valium tablets, and as they walked out the door, they'd take the whole 50 at once. Because Valium is addictive and it develops resistance. After a while, you know, if I took 50 Valium, I'd probably never wake up. But they've gone from 2 Valium a day to 5 to 8 to 10 to 20 to 30 to 40, and the resistance to it has got greater and greater, so it doesn't work. So they can take 50 Valium at once and not keel over. So for tranquilizer addiction, Valium, Seropax, Mogadon, Ambien, Stilnox, whatever, Calmfast. And for marijuana addiction, not many people get marijuana addiction, but some of them smoke too much of it, but a few people get pretty bad with it, and Calmfast just fixes them. And then there's Anger Fix. Australia is having an epidemic of domestic violence. On average, one woman is killed every 4 days by her partner or ex-partner. And for everyone that's killed, there's dozens and dozens who are living in terror, or who have had to leave home and are homeless, or living in a refuge. And there's just not enough refuges. And that's not good. And there are a lot of people who have got very short fuses, and they get irritable and angry and sometimes violent very easily for no great reason. Natural anger isn't very common. There's always a good reason for it. Every time there's a good reason for it. And it helps you to solve problems that shouldn't be there, that are what's made you angry. So it's very important, if there is a good reason to be angry and you are angry, to be angry and fix the problem. In fact, a very serious cause of mental ill health is smiling and doing nothing. Sadly, a lot of women with 2 strict husbands can't do anything about the problem. They just smile and it burns them up inside, and it diminishes their immune system and makes them more susceptible to infections, allergies, inflammation, autoimmune diseases and cancers. But I'm not talking about that. We're talking about abnormal anger. I call it IAD, Irritability Anger Disorder. Irritability Anger Disorder, IAD. And that's where they've got an angry habit. And they just suddenly get angry, usually for very little reason, and it happens often. And in my experience, those people had unhappy childhoods where things were bad and made them angry often, and or later problems that happened often, so often that they became a habit. The underlying chemical and electrical messages or flows that cause the anger got strong, very easily triggered, almost didn't need a trigger, and it happened often. So what's the powder medicine for IAD? The powder medicine for IAD is called, I call it Anger Fix. Anger Fix is got 4 medicines in it. It's got some baclofen, which is a calming, relaxing tranquilizer, which is only slightly addictive. And it's got mirtazapine, which is a wonderfully calming antidepressant. And it's got a mood stabilizer. Mood stabilizer is just another name for anti-epilepsy medicine. Usually lamotrigine was the best, but sometimes carbamazepine. Because the same medicine that stops epileptic fits has a good calming effect on irritability anger disorder. And the 4th thing is microdose or low dose naltrexone, which boosts your endorphins which have a calming effect. So we're having a battle to get all this out to people because medicines are so regulated. You know, in 1992, the pharmaceutical industry offered to pay for the costs of the FDA. The FDA is a medicine regulation body in America. So as they say, he who pays the piper calls the tune, and a lot of the regulation is doesn't help. Well, it helps this person and makes that person worse. For instance, ADD, ADHD, is a disorder in which the front part of your brain is only half awake, so you can't focus and concentrate very well, and you're very impatient, and you jump too quickly. And the three main medicines for ADD are all addictive: dexamphetamine, Ritalin, and dopamine. Oh, we'll fix that. How will you fix it? Well, your local doctor, the GP that you know, and they know you and know your family, we won't let them prescribe it. It's too dangerous for GPs. This is addictive stuff, so you either have to get it from a paediatrician if you're a kid, or you have to get it from a psychiatrist or an adult. So guess what? There are long waiting lists, and the private specialist fees are high, and the public clinic specialists have got long waiting lists. So what happens? The well-to-do end of town can find a paediatrician or a psychiatrist and can afford to pay for them, and they just have to live with a 3-month or a 6-month waiting list. But the poorer people can't. And their kids just go down the street and are sitting ducks for street medicine pushers, and they're all addictive. Everything you can buy on the street is addictive. That's their business, getting people hooked and then selling them more and more and more. The commonest mental disorders are worry, anxiety disorders. Nearly all the medicines for worry, anxiety are addictive. A long time ago, it used to be the barbiturates. There were lots of different barbiturates, and they were all addictive. And then in the 1960s, we've got these better medicines: Valium, Seropax, Mogadon, all addictive. And then Ambien and Silnox, also addictive. Those medicines can be prescribed by family doctors, but they're nearly all addictive. And a bit of an interesting story. Baclofen medicine is a 1920s medicine. It's 100 years old. It was developed to treat epilepsy, but then they got better medicines for epilepsy, so they stopped using baclofen for epilepsy, but it was still best medicine for muscle spasms. And paraplegics and quadriplegics, because of their damaged spinal cord, get a lot of very nasty muscle spasms. So about 30 years ago, I was looking after 100 paraplegics and quadriplegics in a nursing home, and we gave a lot of them baclofen for their muscle spasms. And then in New York, a woman doctor had a male patient who was a young man who was a paraplegic, and he was a cocaine addict, and he hadn't been able to stop his cocaine addiction. And when she put him on baclofen for his muscle spasms, he just stopped the cocaine. The baclofen helped him to stop the cocaine addiction. So that got written up in the New York newspapers, and a professor of cardiology in New York, Professor Olivier Emerson, who had a terrible alcohol problem. He'd been to the 3 best rehabs. He'd tried every treatment there was, and every time he just broke down, relapsed straight back to alcohol. And it was due to a severe anxiety disorder, and eventually had to stop practicing. He had blackouts, he wasn't safe, so had to stop practicing. And he read about this woman doctor's paraplegic patient giving up cocaine with baclofen, and he thought, well, so he tried baclofen, and in high doses it worked for his alcoholism. It worked so well that he could have one drink and stop. Almost everybody who gives up alcohol by cold turkey can't have one drink, because if they have one drink, bang, they're gone back to the alcoholism. But that didn't happen with him. So he wrote a book called The End of My Addiction. A great book, I recommend it. The End of My Addiction by Olivier Emerson. And somehow I can't remember how I got that book, and I read it and I thought, wow, this is wonderful. And I gave baclofen to all of my heroin patients, and it was a great help for them. But 2 of them got up to 9 tablets a day of baclofen, which was better than heroin, but it was a worry. And I found that there was evidence in the literature that baclofen was mildly addictive and people could have problems. So that's when I mixed 3 milligrams of baclofen with 2 milligrams of mirtazapine and 3/4 milligram of microdose naltrexone. And with that combination, they needed much less baclofen, and much less was not addictive. So yeah. Well, I think maybe that's enough for today. Today is Friday, so I'll be back here tomorrow, Saturday at 7 o'clock and Sunday at 7 o'clock Perth time, which is 9 o'clock Sydney and Melbourne time, and 7 a.m. New York time, and 4 a.m. California time. Please, if you've got any questions, any comments, any criticisms, I'm very happy to get them and try to respond to them after. When I stop this, I'll go look straight away. There'll be 30, 40, 50 or 60 new subscribers or new followers, and maybe 50, 70 or 100 diamonds, and there'll be some comments, and I'll respond to them, and then I'll do that again tomorrow. But I'm so old that I have difficulty with technology. I found out something very interesting that's going to help us to work better today, but it's pretty accidental, and people are asking all the time to share to do things with them, and I don't know how to do that. But anyway, I'll be back again tomorrow at 7.